the pandemic. Today we're taking a look at Emilia Danielewska's Paper Caskets, a poetry collection that we put out back in 2018. So for those of you who don't know, NeWest Press is an independent publisher located in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And yeah, I've been reading from our backlist to give you something else to think about for 10 minutes around lunchtime. So you can knock off work, watch this, and then maybe buy a book. That'd be nice. So this is a collection of poems, somewhat morbid poems. A lot of them deal with Victorian death photography, which is not something I was super familiar with before I worked on the book, but it's since cameras took so long to work at the time, often the only time you'd get a picture is if you died, because you don't want to sit still for that long, especially children. Sadly enough, there's a lot of dead kids in this book. But it's a really interesting collection talking about mortality as well as morality. Here's the back cover copy. Emilia Danielewska's debut poetry reveals the dead. Divided into 4 parts, Paper Caskets proposes a poetics of the box, as coffin, as prose parameters of the page, as photograph, and as state of mind and body in the face of death. From the act of photographing the dead to mourning the dead, and to preparing for death that is coming, here is work startling in its clarity, which exposes, as a photograph does, the complicated relationship humans have with mortality. Paper Caskets looks beyond grief to see the dead as dynamic places where memory and body collide, where flesh rots and fluid seeps, and we compose poetry. Nicole Markotic, author of Rough Patch and Whelmed, says, in Paper Caskets, still life photography bears witness to all that gets left out. Textual gaps unburied departed words on the page, and a grief-stricken father contemplates his daughter as gemstone. In these sweet laments of grief, Emilia Danielewska unboxes praline cookie tins, insect suicides, and titanium bones, as each marvelous story poem brings to life the intimate joy of memento mori. So, yeah, kind of heavy stuff. We tried to make it not look like the Addams Family. But yeah, I'll just read you a couple poems. This is one of the first books in the Crow Said Poetry series, which we started up to celebrate our 40th anniversary, and I believe is up to 6 or 7 titles now, with some more to come soon. And something interesting about these poems is that they're not exactly omission poems, but you do get large chunks taken out of the poems and then put back later. So there's some really interesting stuff here, and they kind of read like stories too. So yeah, I'll read you a couple. Alfred. He is already quite stiff when his parents bring him in. His mother has clothed him in a dress shirt and pants rolled at his ankles. Leather booties laced to his feet. The most difficult part of the whole ordeal, she confesses, he wants him in his Sunday best. This will be his last photograph after all. He passed yesterday at 2 in the afternoon, sick with pneumonia for the past few weeks. We grease back his hair, shiny, healthy. On the photograph, I'll paint his eyelids white and add 2 blue pupils. We prop him up using a wooden stand I have in the studio, drag a little arm over a chair for extra support. Then we stage him with some flowers like he's delivering them. The camera takes a few seconds to draw the portrait. Most kids I find difficult to keep still for so long. Not Alfred. They place him in a coffin directly after the shoot and pallbear him out the door. Tessa. Apples were Tessa's favorite. She ate them sprinkled with cinnamon, sometimes in the mornings, sometimes as a treat before bed. 2-year-old Tessa, constantly chasing her brothers in the backyard, digging holes with spoons she slipped from the dinner table, the bottoms of her dresses needing rehemming every half week. Cinnamon sprinkled apple, the only enticing object to lure her inside. 12:15, the grocer delivers a bushel of apples to the studio, marked as market's best. Grimes, Golden, and Macintosh. For Tessa, always Dad. A selection for her coffin, props for her photo shoot. I sneak myself a York Imperial for lunch. Slowly twist the stem. A, B, C, D, F, it snaps. F, Frederica, Frida, fever. Tessa's ran scarlet, pretty common in my work. The bell above the studio door rings. An apple will rot, how can you even suggest? The door swings closed behind the couple. Her mother pushes a doll into my hands, pristine and porcelain. I want this in the photograph. I don't mention the apples or the picture I already took. So, yeah, it's a little bit dark. Good for Halloween. I'll read some of the later poems, which aren't about the kids. So these ones are kind of snapshots of a person's life before their untimely demise. Eugene. Eugene will be right in. His wife Claire flicks the light switch on her way inside the house, and his next step triggers a deluge of light from atop the rising garage door. He shuffles into a dirty lawn chair coated in car exhaust at the mouth of their driveway. Ash, dust, the garage air, a blend of oil, wood, and soil. 40 years of machinery hanging against the walls, garden tools tucked atop the rafters. This summer, Clara will find the crumpled LCBO bags he hid behind the cupboards. Secret insulation. More stashed atop the basement ceiling tiles. Last summer, they sat out here, dragging their chairs between the shade and sunshine, a pitcher of water resting on the car trunk. The garage light barely spreads past the end of the house, grayscaling across the pavement until it reaches blackness just past the corner of orange bricks. The driveway extends for a couple meters more. Up ahead, it crosses the sidewalk and blends out into the road, but he can't see that far. November nuzzles up against his skin, stiffens his joints, his neck tenses against the cold plastic. The house to his right, Claire inside slipping into her nightgown, folding the bed cover over into a neat rectangle and stacking it on the dresser with the embroidered pillows, the same routine every night. On the left, his neighbor's house, a shrub and flower garden running between the wall and his driveway. In 2 years, the neighbors will sell the house and the new owner will rip out the flowers and vines and bushes, even the roses because they look like weeds. She will bleach the grass with pesticide on both sides of the chain-link fence to kill off all the roots and cover the remaining soil with smooth gray garden stones. He inhales November. Chicha the cat pokes her head into the light of the driveway. In 4 years, she'll find herself on this driveway for the last time, her stomach flat, spilling out, the pavement damp with blood and intestinal fluid, dragged up from the road. She won't make it to the front door. Clara will make sure to bury Chicha in the backyard, by the old tomato garden. He sinks lower into his lawn chair, outside just over 5 minutes. 20 minutes ago, leaving his sister-in-law's house. In 3 minutes, Clara will step outside in her nightgown, ask him what he thinks he's still doing, tell him to get inside and go to sleep. The garage light will go on as she opens the back door. In 10 minutes, the ambulance will leave the driveway without turning on the sirens. 4 years from now, your neighbor's house catches fire twice, once by accident, once because he didn't know what to do with the body dragging from the bed to the kitchen to the fire hydrant across your driveway. So, yeah, bit of a dark one as well. I think I'll do one more. So, there's those kind of box exclusion poems. And then poems about injuring yourself, kind of being stuck in a body. Blowing up a whale on a beach. Archaeology. Bones beneath damp sand and soil that when squeezed between her palms falls apart when she reopens. Stray grains of sand lodged in the crumbling skeleton pores. Bones just large enough for a small child. 2 ribs of femur. A day of rain and heavy wind unearths the sandbox cellar, over in the far corner of the park, near the benches where the parents sit, where children won't play in case their parents call, "We're going home." She's a 4-year-old archaeologist digging to the other side of the earth. She finds a dinosaur, keeps a bone, slips it into her pocket to bring home and stash in a shoebox below her bed. Where's the one about falling down? I like that one. I can't find it. Anyway, if you're interested in a little bit of the macabre, Emilia Danielewska's Paper Caskets might do the trick for you. Zoom it back. So if you're interested in picking this up, I'll leave a link on Twitter, but it's available through allitup.ca right now. We're not going into our office. So yeah, check it out there. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.